What is going on, everyone? Welcome to another very exciting episode right here on the MIgardener channel. As you can tell, we're not out in the garden today. It was -3 out, and so rather than risk frostbite, I said, let's come on inside, let's do a gardening video inside, and I don't think anyone's going to mind. And so hopefully you guys are staying warm wherever you're at. In today's episode, we're going to talk about a desert-friendly potting mix, because one of the biggest things that we see coming into our inbox, especially during winter, when people shift from outside inside, is that a lot of people start wanting to pick up houseplants, or they want to start getting into it, and there's a lot of issues surrounding the potting mix. Because if you get the potting mix wrong with desert-friendly plants, everything can go wrong. If you're doing things like overwatering, the wrong type of potting mix will hold on to too much water. And too much water, being that they're they're cactuses or they're cacti, they're desert-friendly plants, they don't like to get a lot of water. They are not naturally going to be getting water on like a weekly basis. And so if you give them too much water, or the potting mix that you're using holds on to too much water, they can actually suffer from things like root rot. So you can really run into some issues there. And then finally is the root type. So a lot of cacti, as well as desert-friendly plants, have very coarse roots. They do not like a potting mix that's heavy in things like peat moss. They actually like a more coarse growing mix because of the way they naturally grow. And so root development is another thing. So lots of issues can happen with the wrong type of potting mix. And oftentimes you see things like a cactus mix, right, being sold in the store. The issue with this is it's very expensive. It is super expensive, and I don't think that anybody needs to spend a ton when you can make it for basically pennies on the dollar. All you need to get is a really good potting mix, just a really good potting mix, and use 1 part potting mix to 2 parts sand. Now, sand is super simple to get. You can go to your local hardware store and buy a big 40-pound bag of sand, find some local beach, assuming it's not going to end you up in jail. Just take a couple scoops of sand, or what a lot of people do is they use like sandbags for like weighing down their trucks. So right now, because it's wintertime, we can get sandbags super inexpensively. This sand here was just part of a big 40-pound bag of Quikrete sand, just a big bag that people put in the back of their trucks for more traction. What I've done here is I've got like I said, I've got 2 parts of sand. It's got like gravel and sand and junk in there. It does not matter. What you really are looking for is that good drainage that you're going to get from the sand. And then you're going to throw in just 1 part potting mix. So you need very little. So there we go. There we go. It's that simple. That simple. And then you just mix it together. And what's really nice about this mix is the fact that you will find it drains very, very well. So if you are someone that accidentally overwaters, you're going to find out really quickly because it'll run out the bottom of the pot very fast. Another note, obviously, as I just mentioned, is the water running out of the bottom of the pot. Make sure, and I cannot stress this enough, if you don't know how much water is too much water, make sure that your pots have drainage holes. A lot of pots that you get from big box stores and places that sell houseplants, they don't like to have holes in the bottom of their pots or they put like a little sticker over them. If they come with a sticker, make sure to pull that off, because a lot of stores don't want water running all over the floor. And so a lot of them put them in decorative pots that don't have holes. Now, once you know how much water is too much water, you can obviously put them in a pot like this has no drainage holes. It's just like a little strawberry planter. It's pretty cool. Or this, like you could put them in like teacups or like little bowls where it's more decorative, but you have to know how much water is too much water, which I'll also touch on. But getting the right type of soil does matter, because that means it's not going to hold on to all that extra water. Because even if you know how to water, the wrong type of soil can hold on to too much of it, and that's what leads to root rot. It should have the color of just like a light brown color. You don't want it to look really dark. You don't want it to look like rich and composty. It shouldn't look that way, because does a desert look rich and composty? No, it doesn't. It looks kind of arid. It looks slightly depleted. And that's what is so cool about these plants, is that they can live in such a crazy environment that most plants would suffer in. Now, as a quick note, this is also going to be really good for growing things like avocados. Avocados love this type of soil. And now this mix, I will say, is going to be way more dense. It's going to be very dense because it has all that sand. So if you're putting it in a big old pot, it's going to be pretty difficult to move. But in a small pot like this, or even in like a 2-gallon pot, it's going to be pretty manageable. And I would highly recommend using this mix, like I said, for any really arid loving plant, because they're going to benefit. Now that this is done, I'm going to show you how to pot up a cactus, because a lot of people fear potting them up. A lot of people fear them because they have thorns. And you know, don't get me wrong, I've been picked my fair share of times, but don't let that stop you from growing them, because they're so pretty and they're so easy to grow because they hardly need any maintenance at all. All right, so here's how you can easily repot a cacti without getting pricked. Simply get a brown paper bag like this. This is just like a brown paper lunch bag, and stick your hand inside and stick your, kind of make like a cup with your hand, right? Stick it in and then punch it in so you can make kind of like a little grabber claw, right? Then you can simply come in here. You can grab the cacti, or grab the cactus, I should say, without getting stabbed. And see, you can pull it out, no problems. So now I'm going to add one little scoop to the bottom of this pot here, because it was double potted and it really didn't need to be. All right, here we go. So that's how you do it. To show you, totally fine. I love that trick. It also works. It was a really kind of a tricky one with this, because the fact that it's so oblong. But this works really well. This works really well for cacti that are a little more, you know, a little more easy to grab. not so bulky and weird. So there you go. There's how you make a really simple and quick desert-friendly potting mix. There is how you can safely transplant cacti without getting pricked with a bunch of their little thorns. And then the final thing that I wanted to show you was how much to water any of these desert-friendly plants, because that is one of the final things that kind of makes this whole thing work, is not overwatering. Because if you water too frequently, that can be an issue. If your potting mix holds on to too much water, that can be the issue, right? So obviously, how many times do we water? Well, with most of our desert-friendly plants, with avocados, it might be a little bit more frequently. However, with most, I'd say probably 98% of desert-friendly plants, you would only water about once a month. I only water mine once a month, and they do great. But, you know, again, just kind of use your judgment. You may have to water them twice a month, but like I pretty much find that once a month is more than enough. Now, how much to water them? Well, if I have like a watering can here, I will typically water them only about 1/10 of the total volume of the container. So if you can kind of envision like this one, like the volume of this container might be about 1.5 cups, right? So I would basically imagine filling up just 1/10 of this with water. And so I'm just gonna basically go like that. And that's about all I water them. That's gonna seem super crazy to you at first, but again, cacti don't need that much water. They're desert plants. They get water maybe twice a year. With aloes, I may water them just a tad bit more than cacti because they are a little more succulent, but still, I'm only gonna water them maybe about 1/8 of the total volume of this container. And I may water them bi-weekly or twice a month, but you know, still not a huge thing that you have to water all that frequently. There you go. That's all the water I'm gonna give them, see? And because we have the right type of soil, it's running out the bottom of the pot. And so it does really pay to have some saucers underneath your plants. I cannot stress that enough because it's gonna run out. So we'll get that before it falls on the ground. And then finally, like I said, especially with planters that don't have holes, this one not having any holes, knowing how much to fill it up is so important. I guess that one didn't have holes either, but again, planters that don't have holes, you want to be very mindful of how much you're watering because it doesn't go anywhere. It doesn't flow out the bottom. It just all stays at the very bottom of this pot, and you can really get a lot of root rot that way. So there you go. I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you learned something new. I hope this helps you in some way. I know we get a lot of questions on the right type of potting mix for desert-friendly plants. And so hopefully this helped. Hopefully you all enjoyed. If you did, make sure to throw a like up there. Subscribe if you're not yet already. And if you really like this Fresh Picked Apparel shirt, or if you like seeds and fertilizer, check out MIgardener.com. We have lots of merch for the MIgardener channel. We have seeds, fertilizer, tons of other cool stuff for you to pick up and get you growing big or going home. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Hopefully you learned something new. And as always, this is Luke from the MIgardener channel, reminding you to grow big or go home. We'll catch y'all later. See ya.